Nope.
I can't tell if we're... That was really weird. Like, I hit the go live button, and then I was like, nah. Not this time. We're not going to do it.
No. You guys are cut off.
Yeah. Too much wrong think.
Too much wrong think. Too many R words. Too many hard R words. Oh, not enough hard R words.
I'm on another 7-day suspension from Twitter because I suggested that Jimmy Carter, a man who is 100 years old, should drop dead. And that was carefully reviewed to determine that I was advocating violence. And it's not really advocating violence as much as stating a fact that the 100-year-old man is going to drop dead probably very soon.
Gotta love those Twitter standards. They're totally fair across the board with everybody.
Well, what pisses me off is that after careful review, like not even 45 seconds passed between posting the tweet and getting the suspension notice. And then I appealed it because it's not a call to violence. It's just a fucking fact. Yeah. And that was denied within about 3 minutes. So there is not a fucking chance that any kind of careful review happened. It was all automated. None. They saw the word dead in a tweet and they were like, nah, not allowing this shit.
Not allowed. Not allowed. I mean, they should have allowed it because, like, Jimmy Carter's a white guy.
Yeah, and a huge piece of shit who's responsible for all the ills we have in the world these days. Why do we have gas-guzzling SUVs? Because Jimmy Carter wouldn't allow station wagons to exist because they wouldn't hit his EPA regulations. Why is everyone a fucking idiot? Because the Department of Education has funneled off millions and billions of taxpayer dollars into not fucking going to schools and actually helping students, but by just dumping them into inner city into dumb shit like smart boards, which don't actually help education in any meaningful way, but they do cost a tremendous amount of money. So, when you look at like why America is hell, it's Jimmy Carter's fault. And the guy should be fucking dead.
I mean, he's had a run. I wouldn't say a good run. He's had a run.
He's 100 fucking years old. It's time to fucking drop dead and stop being a burden on this earth, Jimmy Carter.
Kill yourself. You are a burden on the earth.
I like how you have that like queued up on the soundboard.
that was a telemarketer told me that, and wow. I have it as a quick cue on my soundboard.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Go and die.
That's also a good one.
Does the Discord know we're rolling? I know it's early for those on the West Coast.
Yeah, I figured we'd give it like a buffer few minutes before we started the show proper.
I haven't brought it in. I don't know. Have I brought it in before as an issue about daylight savings?
Yeah.
I have. Yeah. Every year I gripe about it too. Especially now. Especially now when it's like my clients will be just like they're still at the office. It's 4 p.m. where they are. They're still at the office, and I will get stuff sent to me at the end of their day thinking, hey, can you get this ready for like tomorrow morning? And it's like, no, I'm not gonna. It's not gonna happen.
I'm halfway to tomorrow morning right now.
Yeah, we're done. I'll get you something for your inbox to look at in the morning, by the time you wake up. Because like 10 a.m. for me, I can get stuff done by 10 a.m. no problem. But like, some of our stuff has like big deadlines on it and needs to be done the night before. If you're going to send it to me that late, it's not going to happen. Not going to happen.
Yeah, every other year they're like, "Oh yeah, we're going to not do it. We're not going to fall back again. We're just going to stay on savings time or stay on standard time. We're going to stick with it." And it's like, "Okay, great. Just fucking pick one and stick with it, please."
Just do it. You haven't. In Paraguay, they even voted for it, but apparently because like it passed through the House, it's got to go through the Senate, it's got to go through the President, it's got to go through the Supreme Court. And it's like, okay, what I wonder all the time with daylight savings is how is that sold on the entire planet? How did they get everybody on board at the same time?
I think they started doing it, 200 years ago, and now everyone's just kind of stuck doing it. And it's like when you get a new job and you show up and they do like something stupidly, and you're like, why do you guys do this? Like, well, we've always done it. We've always fallen back, and we've always sprung forward. Like, I've been a big advocate of saying that we should spring backwards. We should lose an hour in the summer so the sun sets at about 8 o'clock instead of 9:30.
Yeah. Who asked for that? Who are you saving? Golf courses.
And then stay what is currently summer daylight savings time, make that the time the sun sets in the winter, because there is nothing more miserable than in the next couple of weeks where you leave work, you're walking out of work at 4:30, 5 o'clock, and the sun is like in twilight on the edge, and it's like, why does everyone have seasonal depression? Well, probably because they wake up and the sun's been up for an hour or two for no fucking reason, and then they go to bed and the sun's been gone for hours.
That's the question I always have, is like, you got it backwards. Like, you've got it backwards. Give us an extra hour of sunlight at the end of the day in winter
when it counts,
when I need it the most. And then in the summer, I hate it when it's like, okay, in Calgary, there's like periods of time where it's like 10:30 p.m. when the sun's still out. And you're like, I don't know what to do with this. When I lived in Fort St. John for a summer, I worked up north, almost to the Yukon territories, like almost that high, almost to the Northwest Territories. And like, the sun just didn't go down very much. Like, I went to house parties, not even house parties, like bush parties, where the sun would go down for like a half a minute, so it seemed, and then it come right back up again, and you're like, all right, here we go again. And it's like, who's this helping? Like, this is like, there's not much you can do for them up there, but like, goodness gracious, and everywhere else we all could do better with it.
I remember when I was a kid, I must have been in the kindergarten or the first grade, and I remember being sent to bed at some point in July, and the sun was still up, and I'm getting into an argument with my mom about it. And it's like, the sun's still up. I can't be going to bed. This is bullshit. As like a 5 or 6 year old.
Common.
And because I think about, bedtime was like 8:30 or something, and like that is probably when I started to become radicalized. Like, if you peel away all the layers, it was one day in July in 1995, and little Tab, 1996, little Tab was sent to bed while the sun was still up, and it was just like,
the monster was born.
All of this shit down. Anyway, well, let's
want to get going into the show.
Yeah. This week's episode of Here's What I Don't Get is brought to you in part by crybaby tears over something that you claimed that you really loved blowing up in your face. Nothing's more satisfying than watching those tears just flow and flow and flow. And welcome back to Here's What I Don't Get. From north to south, east to west, the only intercontinental podcast to tackle all of life's toughest issues and the longest consecutively running podcast on the See You Next Tuesday podcast network. I am your host, Tad Burt, and joining from the most dangerous city in America, and joining me from way down south in God's chosen land, that's right, it's your friend, El Chaco.
Hola, mi enchilada! Man, how are you doing, man? It's been a couple of weeks.
It's been a couple of weeks since we did it live. But
was our last one the one with Jamie Deluxe?
It was
Jamie Deluxe. Yeah. I like that guy. I like him. He was a little crass, but I like him.
Mm-hmm.
He was a good addition to the vibe of the show. Although my parents had to check out early. My dad was like, "Yeah, no, I don't know what it was something you guys were talking about, and it was just not my thing," and I had to bounce. And I was like, "Fair enough, man. Fair enough."
But yeah, we haven't done an episode since the election. We're officially in the 8-year anniversary territory of this show being in existence. And what better way to celebrate 8 years of Here's What I Don't Get than to, the show was born out of just a smug delight in winning an election, and now here we are 8 years later, and it's happened again. And I'm getting into it in my issue, but holy shit, the meltdown over Trump's election this time it's better than what it was in 2016. Like,
they're shaving their heads now. They're shaving their heads.
I love this 4B situation. It's so they're liberal women are saying they're not doing any dating. They're not dating, they're not getting married, they're not having sex, and they're not having kids. But if you're not dating, definitely not getting married. So that's 1B down. And
Yep.
if you're not having sex, you're not having kids, which is kind of what the whole point of not wanting
No
abortions
abortions.
to be.
Thank you. Awesome.
So
Yeah.
it's really
We'll
a
take
2B solution, and you've kind of played yourself. Like,
Yeah.
I saw a thing where people are vasectomies have gone up 1,200%. Appointments at Planned Parenthood, and
That's like
hysterectomy appointments
self-selection.
have gone up like 600 or 700%. And it's like, well, yeah, it's better than an abortion. And also, all of you men getting vasectomies, you're all cucks. Every one of you's a cuck.
It's amazing to me because the thing is, it's like we all had to suffer 4 years. We all had to suffer 4 years. Like, so you can't suffer 4 years? Like,
No,
dude, I'm Canadian. I've been suffering since 2015. Like, you know, like
Well, I got a
grow
I got a big one for you this week. Justin Trudeau is suspending immigration into Canada because
I saw that.
There are too many migrants after spending 10 years going like multiculturalism is our strength. With these only the best people. These are refugees, and suddenly he's just turning on a dime. What's going on with that?
I don't believe it. I don't believe him one bit. He tells us all these kind of things all the time. I don't believe him one bit. I think there's probably some loophole. It's probably like, you know, when you get like those like stupid government job numbers and they like, you know, they make up bullshit statistics to like, you know, make it look like they did something. It's going to be one of those. Like he's just 6 like
weeks
not
later,
count.
they're like, oh, we have to correct those numbers because actually, instead of being a huge amount of growth, there was actually a huge loss. But we're publishing that on page.
Yeah, we're in a giant recession. Yeah. We're in a giant recession, but you know, like, don't stop going to work and paying your taxes. Speaking of which, by the way, like, I mean, I'm coming off of, so in Canada, our version of the IRS is the CRA, the Canada Revenue Agency. And like, they were backed up for quite a while because of COVID. And so for a long period of time there, they were kind of giving everybody a little bit of leeway. Well, so when I left Canada, I like filed my taxes for 2020. And then I was getting, you know, I was going to get around to it for 2021. And I was thinking about, you know, maybe I'll get my family and we'll go back up to Canada. So I might as well get that sorted and actually report my taxes for 2021. I'm not advocating for doing what I did. I messed up. This is me telling you I messed up. However, I it's not a mini. It's not a mini cowboy.
No, it is lined up perfectly.
I know.
I
actually moved right there just to make sure that it's like that. I guess I could go underneath and be like in the the Crusader helmet too. But yeah. So my accountant, who's a very smart lady, awesome lady, she was like, you know what, just pay a minimum amount per month and they'll stay off your back. I was like, I'll get around to it because like the interest on not paying that was lower than the interest on my credit card. So I'd rather put my money on my credit card, rather put my money on my house debt and just do whatever. Well, so for whatever reason, they got impatient, didn't give me a warning. I went to go and make a credit card payment, went to sign into my Canadian account, and all the money was gone. All of it gone. They took it all out.
Not about the money. It's about
all of
the message.
It was sending a message. They took it all out.
Fuckers.
And they put a garnishment on it. So it's going to be like another $14,000 just gone next time it comes in. Not advisable, but at the same time, it was an interesting experience because it was like, all right, I am going to put that final chapter together for Canada because I don't hate Canadians. I don't hate people, but I certainly hate the Canadian government, like with all my heart. Like I hate the Canadian government with all my heart. I just saw today there were 330 Canadian Armed Forces military members who were trying to sue the government for being forced to take the jabby jab and being threatened to lose their jobs over it. And this really terrible person, this judge in Edmonton, decided to throw it out without merit and then charge them for the court costs, apparently because there's no trial, and basically saying that it came without merit. You made claims like you wouldn't call them vaccines, you would call them experimental gene therapies or biologics. Yeah, guess what? I hate to break it to you, Judge. You need to look at the laws on this. And the reason why you need to look at the laws on this is because, see, I've been working with the Securities Commission of the province that my clients are in. And yeah, see, we can't call those things vaccines because they aren't legally vaccines. They are legally experimental gene therapies. They are legally biologics. You can't call them anything else. And she threw the whole thing out because she said it was vexatious in nature and it was bad faith. And it's like, yeah, see, and they're saying you didn't provide any evidence. See, that's what a trial's for. I'm sorry. That's where you will get your evidence, you dumb bitch. You completely threw this thing out. And every time I look at Canadian news, I just hate Canada more. And I don't want, if it were not for my family, if it were not for my father's condition, making it so he can't travel, I don't think I'd ever go to Canada again. I don't think I would ever go to Canada again. There's no reason to. I've seen it. I've seen the beautiful parts. I don't need to see them. There's other parts of the world I can go to see, but that ain't, I don't need to go there anymore. I don't need it.
If it weren't for your family, would you abdicate an ICBM hitting Canada, anywhere in Canada, really?
I'd be all about, let's say, what do they call those EMPs? I'd love to see them just knock out knock out the CBC, knock out all the television stations, knock out all the newspapers, knock out my tax records, knock out all of those things together at the same time. I think that would be a really good. I don't think I could complain about that one bit. But I just
I wish every day I'm like, let's just get World War III started. Just send an ICBM right at Washington D.C. Nothing of value will be lost.
They're on that. Yesterday, literally yesterday, Putin is like, "Hey guys, knock it off." I swear to you guys, if Ukraine sends any U.S. missiles into Russian soil, I will nuke the fuck out of you. And he showed on Russian television, they showed how they'd hit the capitals of each European city. They talked about every one of them that they would wipe out. And how did Ukraine respond? Fucking sent 6 fucking missiles in today. Yeah. It's like, hey guys, could you please knock it off? Just knock it off with the saber rattling. It's not helping anybody. We don't want to see it. I know you're saying about it would just be nice to see World War III get on with it, but it's I don't think we're ready for it. I don't think anybody's ready for it. I don't think I think every prepper is not ready for it. I don't think anybody's
wipe us all out. Just wipe out the human race.
It'd be a great way to go. Make it quick. Make it quick. Make it painless. Make it, I don't want to be in the apocalyptic aftermath, and I'm going to be bringing that up in my a bit of that in my issue. But I this last weekend we went to Asunción. We had an appointment to get to, and we invited out another family. There was another family that was coming through, and another Canadian family. Another Canadian family came down. Another based Christian homeschooling family came down, and it's always funny when you meet new people down here because expats are weird. We all know we're weird. We know we're not normies, but you don't know how unnormy people are. So you have to be very careful about how you kind of couch things. And it's we didn't get the jab. Oh yeah. You didn't get it. Okay. I don't like immigration in Canada. Oh, okay. It's you have to be very careful about how you go about these things up. But it was nice to see they were setting up their tax residency here, and then they're going to actually go and live in Argentina, which I'm not against. I actually think that's not a bad idea. There's really beautiful parts in Argentina. They were looking at Mendoza, which is where I get a lot of our wine from, which worked out well. It's funny though, because prior to that, we like our beer, and I was at the grocery store. I was buying stuff, and I grabbed some beer for the weekend, and I messed up. I didn't read the labels properly. I bought some Stella Artois. I thought, okay, well, I'll try to change it up a bit, get something different going. And I didn't see
non-alcoholic.
I got the non-alcoholic beer. Yeah. But here's the thing. So yeah, and I got like 12 of them. That's the other thing. I got like 2 6-packs of them, like a dummy. But so, my wife, she's done that, been there, done that. She did that when she was pregnant, and she doesn't like it. Won't go back to it again. So I had one, and I was like, "Here you go, son," and gave one to my son. And then, like, he actually found it refreshing, but he's like, he was kicking back on the aftertaste. And I was like, yeah, they'll do that. That's what a non-alcoholic beer will have, is a pretty nasty aftertaste. But he started liking them, so he's like drank like 8 of them so far since they've been in the fridge. And and it was funny because like we go to this food park to meet up with this other family, and he's like, "Hey, Dad, can I get a non-alcoholic beer?" I'm like, "Yeah, I don't think that'll give good optics."
Yeah,
where we are, I don't know. I just maybe like I'll get you a Coca-Cola. It's fine. And it's, oh, really? Yeah, because I never get them Coca-Cola. And then we go to the Biggie, which is like the 7-Eleven of Paraguay, and we get there, and he's got his allowance money, and he's trying to buy a non-alcoholic beer from the thing, and they won't sell it to him. Like, they won't sell it to him, and he's like, "It's not alcoholic." So like my son comes back to me, he gives me the retelling of him, like, giving the gears to the like poor Biggie employee that's there, and it's like, "Wouldn't sell me a non-alcoholic beer." I'm like, I think you're like the only person who's ever complained about about not getting sold,
not being sold. No, yeah.
Beer.
I was dating a Fed for a while, and she had this belief that somehow non-alcoholic beer was better for you than soda, which I guess is there's a amount of logic there, but also I kind of don't feel what the point of beer is if you're not like getting a little bit of a buzz.
I mean, like St. Paul talks about drinking some wine, but I think that there's some medicinal vitamin benefit from wheat juice in the form of beer. You said it as if that was in the past tense.
It is in the past tense.
I'm sorry to hear that. I didn't know
as of
that.
the day before the election, they couldn't convince me to go commit a mass shooting. So I guess they decided to end their honeypot.
Oh man, that's how they get you. They're going to send another one, and they're going to send in a goth girl with big titties, and get you at a low point.
I'm on a fucking straight trajectory to the top. I don't know if I announced it on the show, but I couple months ago got accepted for an exhibition at the glass studio that I work out of in September of next year. And then last week I got accepted into an exhibition at one of the libraries here in St. Louis in May. So nice. I have to like really start gearing up. I was like, I actually have timers on my phone. In my head, I'm thinking I have 282 days before my next exhibition, and now I've got one in 162 days, and it's actually bigger. Like, it's smaller, and it's smaller pieces, so I have to make things specifically for this library exhibition. So I've got to get in the hot shop and get designing. But I'm looking forward to that.
Well, you're out of pumpkin season, so you're gonna have to maybe you can do some like Christmas ornaments or something like that.
Oh yeah, except I'm not going to, because as everyone knows, I hate Christmas.
I'm gonna swing you on that over the years. Once you convert to full Catholicism, and then I'm guessing by 2028, probably you'll see some shit. You'll see some shit, and you'll be like, yeah, Joel's right. And then just like
I believe I would convert to Catholicism before I would have anything but complete antipathy towards Christmas. Even if I became like a hardcore Catholic, you'd still see me.
Horse in the cart. Yeah, it's the horse in the cart. Maybe you treat Christmas properly at that point in time. Maybe we'll see. But anyway,
my dream is to someday be able to just go to a wicked Halloween party, just the best Halloween party, and then go live in the woods in complete solitude until December 29th, where I would re-enter the world and I would go to a just truly kick-ass New Year's Eve party.
We just got to sit you down and just play the one Linus speech scene from Charlie Brown's Christmas and just get you in the mood.
With my eyes peeled open the entire time.
Exactly.
And then
tied to the chair
above Bethlehem.
We'll have you chained down with rosaries and just make sure that you absorb that which is to be absorbed. So yeah, should we move into the issues?
Some real issues.
Yeah, let's get on with this. Here's what I don't get. Dystopian overload. Let me redo that. Dystopia overload. Now, what I mean by that is like, I think recently I probably brought up about watching the Back to the Future trilogy with my kids. And it started to hit me because like everybody craps on Back to the Future 2. I think it's kind of quietly maybe the best one. I know that's like it's I
don't know who's shitting on Back to the Future 2.
It's so good. It's so good. And the thing that I like about Back to the Future 2 especially is the future parts. They go to the future.
One moment.
Yeah, sure. His glowy X is
I used to do this shit to Tim all the time. Please continue.
What I love about Back to the Future is they go to the future, right? And there's kind of nothing wrong with the future. I mean, the family has problems, but the future seems pretty badass, right? Like it seems like the future. I want to see more. Oh, that's what you went to go and get. I love it. There we go. So for those who are only listening on the audio when this comes out, like in 7 weeks, he's wearing the Marty's future cap there from Back to the Future 2.
Bought it in 2015.
Beautiful. But I love it. I love Back to the Future 2. I want to spend time in that future. Like give me a video game or something that I can spend time in that is in that future, because there's a lot of cool stuff going on in that future and we're not there long enough. I just want to see more. And Tab and I had a conversation last week, and I was bringing up, I'm like, you know, there's not going to be any Back to the Future sequels or reboots or anything. But if you could just convince the guys like, hey, listen, I'm not asking for anything about the McFlys or the Tannins or anything like that. You know what, if you want, maybe go into like the Goldie Wilson family, you know, so Netflix plays it. And then, you know, I would like to see a whole movie based on the invention in that timeline, the invention of hover technology. So the hoverboards and the hover conversion of the DeLorean, those kind of things. You could make a movie of that. And you do some fan service, like when somebody tries to take a hoverboard over water and there's not enough power, you know, you could do something like that. That would be cool. But I was just thinking about this, like thinking about all the future movies out there, and like 99.5% of them are super dystopian. Like it's like oh, and they couch it with like, oh, these people think it's a utopia, but behind the scenes there's a sinister group that's pulling the strings, and they don't know that the food they're eating is people, or you know,
or like the island, they're being grown to harvest organs for celebrities.
It's constant. It's constant. Blade Runner, it's set in the future, totally dystopian. Sucks. I love Terminator 2, right? Like it's set in the present, but it's to prevent a totally dystopian future. And I think at a certain point, it's like, look, I get it. When you're writing fiction, you need to incorporate a conflict. Otherwise, there's no story. There's no plot, right? But every single thing in the future, Gattaca, or Children of Men, or there's always something, and it's always a social commentary on our present life if things were to continue the way they're going. And it's like, listen, we live in a dystopia. I don't need a fictional take on it anymore. I'm in it. I'm living it. There was a period of time where my wife and I were, during lockdowns, we watched Gattaca, and I was like, I'm watching Gattaca, and they're in a restaurant with like people with no masks on. I turned to my wife, I'm like, they got a better future than us. they got a better future than us. That looks, I'd rather live in that future. You know, okay, I'm not genetically selected to be a rocket scientist. Who gives a shit? I get to go in a restaurant with like a band playing. That sounds awesome. You know, and it's like, I feel like at a certain point, too much dystopia becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. I think that if we just constantly or every time we look to the future and we just paint it as the crappiest of crap, we're just going to march closer to it. And it just happens all the time. Try to think about that. You're wrong, by the way. 3 was not a mistake. 3 is a great movie as well. There we go. And Back to the 3 we watched it. It was great. I enjoyed it. It's fun. It's not my favorite Western like it is yours. But trying to think about stories or timelines set in the future that aren't a big bag of dicks. And there aren't that many, right?
No.
It's like Wall-E. All the people are the big fat lard tubs, and they all suck, and the world sucks, and everything sucks.
Yeah, they literally poisoned the earth and then flew themselves out into space to become big fat tubs of lard addicted to their devices. And it's like,
I get the commentary. That's us. Yeah, that's the future. Like Futurama sometimes is kind of funny. Like Futurama is an okay one. I think, for example, like when I was trying to really nail it down, it's like, okay, what fictional futures are pleasant? And it's basically Back to the Future 2 and the Jetsons. And even the Jetsons, everything like Star Trek, yes, but you always have the looming threat of the Borg coming or the Klingons coming or somebody.
But they often depict Earth as being like idyllic, where there's no problems anymore. You don't have to worry about anything. And that's why I hate modern Star Trek, because they took that like utopian ideal vision of humanity in the future and they turned it into a total dystopia.
Yeah, they made Picard the baddie. They made it all Picard's fault. And then on top of it, again, going back to our conversation from last week, I think that there should be a Star Trek series just on Earth. Just on Earth while all that is going on, and just people getting updates about Romulans. That's what the Star Trek Picard series should have been. It should have been him as an admiral, like the West Wing, hanging out in Starfleet headquarters, just being like, all right, guys, take your ship and go do this thing. We got to go do this thing. We got to negotiate with the Romulans about this deal and see this ambassador. It would be like, it would just be in future buildings. It wouldn't need to go out into space, but instead they turn it into like a swashbuckling space piece of crap. Well,
where there's still poverty and people smoke and like there's drugs and someone's kid died of a drug overdose and shit. And it's just like, who is this for?
I mean, Jesus Christ said that the poor would always be with you. So always means always. All right, fine. But at the same time, Star Trek has things like the tricorders that you can diagnose somebody, you can heal them right away, you can do all that kind of stuff. And something about the Jetsons. So the Jetsons it's a quirky futurist. It's a quirky future. Everything breaks down because everything's automated, but it's an interesting one because it's sort of a utopian future. Go back and watch it. It's like they live above the clouds. Everybody's like living well and rich and owns their own place. They're all like functional families and marriages and all this kind of stuff. And they're all white. They're just all white people. There's no Jetsons of color. It's kind of like the reverse Wakanda. I think I brought that up before, but it is it's funny to me because, again, like every single time you see something that's set in the future is a total wasteland, is completely ruined. And I get it. If you're a fiction writer and you're looking at the way things are, or you're a liberal who, oh no, we just lost an election, so now get out your Handmaid's Tale uniforms that you're going to get forced into breed in, like
your 3X Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah, exactly. It seems to me that it is a self-fulfilling prophecy, because I feel like if we just set up a thing where we go, okay, these are the problems we have now, I'd like to see them solved in the future, and then write a story about how we solve those problems from now for the future. And then, okay, you want to have a conflict in it, make it interpersonal, like the McFlys in Back to the Future 2. You don't have to make it where fascism took over, communism took over, all the like, think about all the classic dystopian novels, right? You've got 1984, right? So it's Big Brother, and you're changing news and history books and all this kind of stuff. Not anything like we're doing now. No way. No.
Not at all. No.
Not at all. No. And then you've got what is it? Fahrenheit 451. All the books are burned. Books. Even Rollerball had that. Even Rollerball had gotten rid of all the books and all the knowledge.
Yeah.
Brave New World is a dystopian future of everybody just being addicted to.
That's supposed to look utopia. It's that false utopianism, or everyone's happy and they're doing drugs all the time, but it's actually kind of sinister how.
And that's the other thing. That's the liberal Hollywood projection on things. It's like, oh, people are happy and things are working. Yeah, let's peel back some layers, because there's probably a wife in there who's unhappy in her marriage and is probably having a drink behind the scenes or something like that. Or or they've oppressed, or they've wiped out a whole group of people, or they've done this or they've done that. And it's like, okay, I get it. I think
that's what it comes from, is that we can't have characters that are inherently good anymore. Like we really embraced in the early 2000s, I think, is when it started to come around to being like, we liked anti-heroes because we like to reflect. And now you can't even have a hero anymore. You can't have a character who is good. They all have to be, unless it's a woman. If it's a woman, they're allowed to be just like perfect, great. But she's always in a world.
Flaws. Yeah,
she's always in a dystopian world, and so it's hard. It's hard to look at the world and say, oh, what things are here that are good, and how is it going to get better? Like Back to the Future Part 2. Movies are big. 3D is big. There'll be holographic movies. Flying cars will exist. There will be, no poverty, or no like visible poverty in the downtown the way there is in regular 1985 or even alternate 1985. And like looking at those things and kind of extrapolating out that it's kind of this beautiful town square that's kind of like run down and dingy in the 1985 we see before. And I think part of that is the beauty of Back to the Future Part 2 is that they're directly contrasting like a dystopia that they end up going back to versus the utopia, which helped, I think, influence how fun 2015 is in that movie.
Yeah.
But like it's hard to do that. It's hard to have positive and optimism and write good things like that. Whereas it's way easier to go, everything sucks. What if it just sucks more? What if everyone lives in a desert and like no one knows how to read and we have to like, ride on motorcycles to get everywhere?
Well, it feels too like we're not only rewriting history, we're rewriting future, right? Mm-hmm. So like I can't stand like the movie. Do you remember the movie Pleasantville with Tobey Maguire and Reese Witherspoon? And it's this idea like constantly crapping on the 1950s. When like the economy was booming, it was pre-Vatican II. You had like, families people together, a baby boom for a reason, mm-hmm. like things were looking up, but like, make sure we get rid of that as quickly as possible. Like let's critique that and make it suck. Cause Because not only are you miserable in the present, and any fiction that we give you is going to be miserable in the future, but let's also go back and rewrite history and make you miserable in the past as well. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it. It's constant. I get what you're doing.
It's total demoralization.
It's just lazy. It's also lazy. I get it. It's like, see a social ill of our time, blow it up, crank it to 11, make it the whole society in the future, and then boom, there you go. But like, dude, there are thousands upon thousands upon thousands of content in it, just dystopian future, and not a single one of them is like one that you would be like, yeah, I want to live in that. Yeah, that sounds good. I get it. That doesn't make for a conflict. It doesn't make for a proper plot and arc. But you're killing me with this. You're killing me with this. Like Star Wars, right? You watch Star Wars, and it's not in the future. It's a long time ago.
Yeah.
But
Star Wars is fantasy.
It is fantasy, but it's like it's a lived-in future, but it's harsh. It's harsh. There's not a single planet you want to live on in Star Wars. There's not a single one.
No.
Screw Tatooine. Don't want to live on Coruscant. Don't want to live on Endor. Don't want to live, like none of these places. The Dagobah system can pass. There's nowhere. Hoth. Yeah, I grew up in Hoth. I don't need to live on Hoth.
Naboo's pretty nice.
Yeah, Naboo's not bad
on the white people side of the planet. I wouldn't want to go live with the Gungans.
But I don't know. I don't know if there's a solution for this, but I am totally
better
on
writers.
dystopia overload. I don't think we're gonna have better writers again. I think that writing by committee, I think that like test audiences and everything like that are gonna kill all of that. Because we have to write things for modern audiences. And I feel like, I don't it's a great thing, because the thing is, I think back all the movies I've watched, all the video games I've played, all the television shows I've watched, and now as like there's been this stymie of creativity for over a decade now, where you just look at it and you go, I have nothing I want to watch. There's no new movies that come out that I want to watch. There's no new shows that come out that I want. The occasional one slips through, and you watch it for the first season and it's great, and you watch it for the second season and you're like, it was pretty good, but I saw a red flag in there. And then the third season it's just like total woke garbage. And like, because I was really liking Cobra Kai. Did you watch any of that Cobra Kai for a while?
Yeah, I watched like the first few seasons of Cobra Kai, and then
we started seeing the signs. I was like, here we go, here it comes again.
Well, what pushed me out of it was just that like they just kept extending the story. It's like
they didn't have anywhere
else.
The
first season was really all you needed, and then the second season was like okay, and then the third season is like now you're just going nuts.
I will say this is where the Brits have it right. When it comes to their television shows, they do like 2 seasons and a Christmas special and they're done. Like those are the best. Like when they do that, but like, of the shows that they do that don't do that, like Doctor Who, I've never gotten into Doctor Who. I can't get into Doctor Who. It's never been appealing to me. And they've made it exponentially less appealing to me in the last like 5 years. Like if I was ever going to get into it, not now.
I tried to watch Doctor Who in college, and I watched like the Christopher Eccleston season, and I watched like the first season of David Tennant being around, I think is who came next. Okay. And I hated the Rose character so much. So like beyond, like every show needs a reasonable liability, like Kim Bauer in 24 was this reasonable liability. Like we needed some weakness for Jack Bauer to have to combat against. But like every episode of Doctor Who would be like, all right, I gotta go do this thing. It's gonna take 5 minutes. Don't fucking touch anything. And she'd be, and he would walk away, and she would touch something and be like, you touched this sacred relic of our robot civilization, and now we're gonna rape and murder you. And Doctor Who would then show back up and be like, oh my god, I gotta save you now. And I was just like, this is every fucking episode of the show. Just fucking rape and murder her already.
Merlot Merlo Williams writes, a buddy of mine has a good analogy for this. They can't take away the original thing from us. It will always be as it was. True and
But
false. True and
they try
false.
and demoralize those things because they like, that's one of the things modern Star Trek is trying to do with the Strange New Worlds. So at Utopian, and you talk about how, you can have interpersonal conflict. But another great thing that Star Trek's good at, even with the Borg, like human society, the Federation is a utopia. It's a perfect balance, democracy. No one wants for anything. And so what do you fight them against? Like groups that are diametrically opposed to their wants, like the Borg, who just want to like assimilate and make everything one, or the Dominion that wants to conquer and enslave. And so that's like where your external conflict comes from. And you can still have interpersonal conflict where characters get into disagreements about things or have feelings for one another that has to get explored. You can explore humanity by, taking a human characteristic that we have and giving it to an alien species, and then having your characters comment on the alien species in a way that then we don't have to see, what that is. So you can have a utopian sci-fi with that. But with modern Star Trek, they're even like the Strange New Worlds. They're going back and they're bringing in Jim Kirk and making him like a miserable character because even though, yes, we do always have the original and you can't touch it, it does diminish it. Like you can't get it out of your brain. Like the Picard series, even though it's a sequel to the Next Generation, whenever I watch the Next Generation now and I see, Jean-Luc Picard stand up to someone about something, I think of that first season of Picard that I unfortunately watched, where he, at the very beginning, he's like, yeah, I just gave up after this thing went wrong. And I'm like, well, you'll stand up for it, but for really how long? How long, Jean-Luc? And it's like colored my view of the character, despite the fact that it shouldn't exist. So yes, we will always have the old thing, but they're trying to demoralize you out of any of it.
Well, that's the thing is like, so Neon Ghost is saying the original 4, 5, and 6 were taken from us. He's probably talking about Star Wars there. I went out of my way to try to find a DVD copy of the theatrical version of Star Wars. And do you know how hard it is? Like it's
I
hard.
used to have them.
Yeah. And I have it, but here's the other thing. It's coded crappily. You have to stretch out the aspect ratio for it to fit in. The subtitles, the lower the dongles off of the bottom of the letters of the G and J get cut off. It's a pain in the ass. And it's like, okay, you did that. And then on top of it, any new thing that gets added on. So for example, Rogue One totally makes like the sacrifices that were made that we've talked about in the original trilogy. It makes them less. You got Palpatine coming back to life. So he's that whole arc that had Darth Vader throw him over and like that's all gone. We don't have that anymore. So that, like, I didn't even like, I mildly enjoyed this recent Joker movie. And then they had the sequel come out, which makes it so that like you hate the original Joker movie. Like they're doing this, they're taking your things and they're writing them very strategically in a way that makes you hate the originals that don't work. I refuse. I have watched 2 Terminator movies. I will only watch 2 Terminator movies. I've watched the first one and I've watched the second one. And the reason why
Terminator 2, the theatrical cut, and Terminator 2, the extended edition. There are only 2 Terminators.
There are only 2.
Terminator 2.
I listen. I feel like that is a perfect two-story arc, and I don't need to go anywhere beyond it. And anything you did after that, I have no interest in, none whatsoever. I don't want to see it. I don't want to deal with that. Blade Runner, the original Blade Runner had these great open-ended questions that you could fill in for yourself. And then they come up with like Blade Runner 2045 or whatever it was, and basically make it so that like we've answered those for you and we subverted your expectations and it's not exactly what you liked and everybody's miserable and Indiana Jones is miserable and Han Solo is estranged from Leia and everything sucks. Dystopian overload, and that is my issue for tonight.
Yeah. I would say as far as like the demastered, there's a demastered edition where people have taken like the Blu-rays and
Yeah.
created the theatrical cuts in 4K that you can
Are
torrent.
they easy to get?
That
Tell me
I have
off
no idea.
the air.
I,
Yeah.
I have no interest in them, so I've just heard that they exist. But yeah, that DVD copy was a rip of the laser disc. It was like
Yeah.
an 80s
I've
laser
been
disc, and
watching
that was the last time.
documentaries on how bootleggers saved Star Wars, but they didn't
Mhm.
really save Star Wars. It's still like junk, like it still looks like junk. It doesn't look very good. And we're never going to get that back, unfortunately.
No, of
Like,
course not.
never. And it's because George won't give it to us. George is a weird dude. George Lucas is a weird dude. The more I look into him, the more I read about him, the more I hear about him. Like, I mean, yeah, you're a man with a plan and you had great ideas, but you also hate plots and character arcs and you hate writing
And
you hate
actors.
fiction. Yeah. So it's like, that's not going to work for us. And if you did everything the way you wanted to in the first place, we wouldn't be here because you got saved in editing by your ex-wife. So that's my issue. We should
McClunky forever.
McClunky. God bless Greedo.
Well,
right.
that brings us to the middle of our episode, which means it's time for...
You're listening to Leap Day News, bringing you useless stories every 4 years. Hey, at least this is better than the election.
That is a true statement. I've got a news story here from Leap Day News. El Chaco, you ever go tanning?
I used to. I don't have to anymore where I'm at. I get sunburns just from going in my pool for, extended periods of time. Do you?
Yeah.
My wrestlers used to always go tanning. They used to always bitch at me all the time.
All
like,
bronzed up.
Yeah, they were bitching me all the time. Like, when are you gonna get us a tanning salon to give us a sponsorship deal? I'm like, I don't think it's gonna work that way.
Well, where was this? I don't remember where is it? Indianapolis. In Indianapolis Planet Fitness, a man was found after 3 days dead inside a tanning bed. The gym was open all weekend, and then on Monday morning, they found a rotting corpse inside of one of the tanning beds. He had struggled with his drug addiction, and a needle was found in the tanning bed room. Planet Fitness says that they have a robust operational brand protocols in place, and they're working closely with our local franchise to ensure that they are upholding those brand protocols.
Robust,
which is just a
3 days of not cleaning your tanning bed. That's robust.
Yeah, you go into those things and they have a sign that says I've been sanitized, but now I'm kind of wondering,
doubtful.
Is there a dead dude in these things? I'm gonna go into so I go to Planet Fitness here because they're plentiful and cheap and on close to home. And I kind of want to go in the next time and be like, hey, are there any dead people in the tanning booths? Have you checked today?
Yeah, you want to maybe do a smell test before you open the door, to see if there's that, that rotting corpse stank emanating from it.
Stuff.
I can't believe that though. I mean, how embarrassing is that for Planet Fitness in general? You've already got enough knocks against you, but this one, you have a tanning bed in there and apparently you're not checking on it or cleaning it for 3 days and you have a dead person in it. So yeah, you should have found that. I don't know, within hours, maybe.
Yeah, you would think that end of maybe he goes in late Friday night, right? And then, but you would think you go clean him, check him Saturday morning, and hey, there's a dead guy in here. But apparently, no one checked. No one checked on Saturday. No
Was
one
it
checked
a long
on
weekend?
Monday morning, bright and early, someone finally came in and cleaned. We never have to clean those tanning beds. No one used them today.
Nah, nobody used them. Did you check? Didn't have to. Yeah, that's brutal.
Nobody went back there.
I got one from Sky News here. Swedish minister's staff insist on banana-free rooms due to quote unquote weirdest phobia. And this is banana phobia can cause serious symptoms like anxiety and nausea and can be triggered by seeing or smelling the fruit. A Swedish minister's phobia of bananas has led officials to insist rooms are free of the fruit ahead of any meeting or visit, according to reports. The instructions from, get this, okay, Which minister is it? Gender Equality Minister Paulina Bramberry, Bramberry's staff were seen in leaked emails published by Expressen. The tabloid quoted one of the leaked messages sent to the Norwegian Judicial Agency ahead of the VIP lunch as saying that she has a strong allergy to bananas, so it would be appreciated that there are no bananas in the areas where she will be staying. A similar email reportedly sent to the county administrative board said no bananas are allowed on the premises either. On the premises, like not even in her sight. Like, get them out of here. Bramberry told Expressen that it was an issue she was getting professional help with. She is reported to have posted on X in 2020 saying she has the world's weirdest phobia of bananas. This post has since been deleted. And then it ends with banana phobia can cause serious symptoms like anxiety and nausea and can be triggered by seeing or smelling the fruit. I think that should have been found out in the vetting process before this person got elected to public office. It's just ridiculous.
Banana phobia can come from being forced to eat bananas as a child. Someone associates bananas with a traumatic event, such as a banana peel causing a slip and fall, or an individual who simply dislikes the texture, smell, or taste of bananas. So is it a phobia or is it an allergy? Because if it's an allergy, I'm all 100% on board.
She said allergy, but I think she's padding the stats. I think she's adding that crap in. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. It's one or the other. It's not both. You can't be
I know people who have a nut allergy, right? And it's like, I have a nut allergy. Here's my EpiPen for if I, get the oil, peanut oil. Can't eat Chick-fil-A because peanut oil will make me break out or my throat close up. Can't eat a peanut. That'll kill me. And you're like, oh yeah, again, that makes perfect sense. But it's like, I can't have banana in the same room because it causes me anxiety. Like, that sounds a lot like a you problem, you fucking psycho.
Yeah, maybe. And she's getting professional help, but she posted this in 2020. So that means when did you start getting the professional help? Did you start getting it
when she
recently?
found out that she could get attention from doing it?
That's the thing. I think it's a control mechanism. Yeah. I think it's to it. Okay, so for example, like famous rock bands, they would have a rider, which is their instructions. So it's like, they would put them in. I get the purpose of these wacky riders. It was to see that they were paying attention, right?
Yeah.
So I forget if it might have been Van Halen,
Metallica, and Green M&Ms is
Green M&Ms. Okay, there it was. Yeah. There it was, and like it's just a matter of did you read the instructions? I think I get that. I get that. You reach a certain level, and you might be able to demand this kind of thing. I guess. I mean, if you're bringing in boatloads of money for the venue, then sure. This gender equality loser isn't bringing in any value to the venue. She's just causing problems.
She's just setting taxpayer money on fire.
Why do you even have a gender equality minister? That's ridiculous. Come on, Sweden. I thought you were getting based again. Knock it off. So
yeah.
All right. What's our last one?
I've got one here. Last one from Connecticut. And this is kind of surprising because when I think Connecticut, I don't think of this character. A Bigfoot was caught making a ruckus in Connecticut's Sasquatch hotspot last year, according to a recent report by the Bigfoot Field Research Organization, which sounds like an organization that has a vested interest in reporting Bigfoot stuff.
Yeah.
A Fairfield County resident heard the hairy giant screaming / long duration whooping just after midnight on October 17th, 2023. It's taken 13 months to report this.
The
voice had quite a bit of power behind it, and I could tell it had carried over the distance. I would rough guesstimate at least 2 clicks from my cords, the anonymous witness said, which is just the douchiest way to say it was a little over a mile away. The alleged Bigfoot would yelp for 10 seconds and then halt. All the dogs in the area started barking, and normally there are many owls in the area. When I'd gone outside previously, I could hear them. When I noticed the vocalizations had ended, it probably was a good 10 minutes before I could hear the owls again. So the owls are also afraid of Sasquatch. The incident occurred with close proximity to a railroad bed and powering route that extends to locations of other sightings. One from February of 22, where a woman said she saw a very tall, all black, upright figure. Could have been LeBron James.
Dikembe Mutombo just passed away, so yeah, it's got to be LeBron James.
Yeah. Moneymaker said the 2023 incident was deemed credible after ruling that species known in the area would not have been able to emit at the strange unidentified sound. So yeah, Connecticut is a Bigfoot thing too.
I didn't know it was a hotbed of Bigfoot stuff. I always think of Pacific Northwest when I think of
that's
Bigfoot.
what everyone thinks of. But actually, I'm a little bit of an expert because back in March I went to the North American Bigfoot Center in Boring, Oregon, and there were like sightings and postings and castings from all over the country, down south into Paraguay. I mean, South America, North America, Europe. There are Bigfoots everywhere. And
everybody with phones just can't seem to get footage of them. It's crazy.
Oh, one of the best ones was there was a video, and it was like, this is a FLIR infrared camera, trail camera set up. Here's the footage. And it's just kind of this smudge. This smudge just kind of goes past the screen, and it's like, why are all these videos look like black and white? Well, because this is a FLIR. And then there was a FLIR camera in the room you're in, and you're looking at yourself, and it's like, yeah, okay. I mean, I can tell that's me. I don't look like a smudge. But then you show me videos of these Bigfoots, and it's just like a smudge.
They turn into Epstein cameras, like the second
yeah, it was so good. It was like $5, maybe $10 to get in, and it was absolutely worth it because the stuff was like, and don't get me wrong, like, I don't know, maybe there is a Bigfoot out there, maybe there's not. I know that the like famous video is absolutely a hoax. I met the people that made the costume from that one where he walks across camera real fast.
Yeah.
But it's just fascinating stuff. It was super entertaining. I had a great time. So if you're ever in Boring, Oregon, go check out that the national, I think it's like the National Bigfoot, North American Bigfoot Center, I think is what the place is called. But yeah. They're everywhere.
Did you ever go through like a cryptozoology like phase? Like in
in middle school, just like everyone else.
Yeah, man. Like Bigfoot was a big thing. For me up in the northwest in Canada, it was Ogopogo in the Lake Okanagan. It was like our Loch Ness monster, right? But Loch Ness monster, I always think of like I don't know, like a dinosaur with like flippers. But like Ogopogo is like a serpent-like thing that has like kind of, and like we would vacation in the Okanagan where this creature allegedly resides. And as a kid, like it was great because every time you're driving past that part of the lake, like you're just glued to the like car window, just waiting to see something of interest.
Little thing surface.
Yeah, you see like waves in the water, and then you're just looking for like a dark spot or something. Just give me a head that pokes out of the water. I'm in. I want this, but yeah, never saw it. Watched it for years, never saw it. There, never got around.
There's
to it.
What Lake Champlain has Champy. The Chesapeake Bay has Chessie. There's the Jersey Devil, of course. I think there's one in the swamps of Florida, but I don't remember what it's called off the top of my head.
Down here, I mean, we have mythical creatures in Paraguay that are very famous, and everybody swears they've seen one or done one, and then like all of them have like these ridiculous backstories. Like there's the Pombero, which is this kind of like hairy looking, short, like hobbit looking guy, and he messes with your farm animals and stuff like that. But like you can appease him by leaving out like a glass of cognac, which is like kind of a dirty rum that they make down here, and a cigar. And then like you come back and it's almost like he's almost like Paraguayan Santa Claus. He drinks the rum and smokes the cigar and leaves it there. Kind of like, when you come back and there's an empty milk glass and like, cookie crumbs or something like that. And then they got this other one called Kurupi, and he's like the ultimate like excuse for a promiscuous woman, because like an unexplained pregnancy is always blamed on Kurupi, and he's like got like a really long member that is so long that in order to get around, he has to wrap it around his like waist like a belt, like over and over again. And there's like a brand of tea down here called Kurupi, and they like straight up have the guy with like this like, you know, skin
Dong
belt,
belt.
dong belt. And it's like, we all know what that is. Like, why is that a thing? And the other thing is they have down here is these like werewolves that they call Louis Son. And that's the one that I keep getting told about by the locals. They're like, yeah, there was another Louis Son sighting. That's why your dog was barking last night. That's why all this kind of stuff is like, oh yeah, like I guess I'll see one of those eventually if you're all seeing them. Never end up seeing them though. It's just so strange. I don't know why I never end up seeing them. My security cameras never get them. That's weird. I don't know.
We invented a new cryptid. This is the chicken hog. If you're watching, you can see.
I like it.
It's a hog, but it has chicken legs and wings. It's also supposed to have a chicken beak. I think I fucked up on the drawing, but that's what our whiskey is called. It's called Chicken Hog Whiskey.
So what you're saying is that I should do this like Dr. Moreau thing because I've got chickens and I've got a hog. I should do some sort of ungodly crossbreeding. There we go, and then we'll be able to put it on we'll send you up for a mascot.
Yeah. I need to actually like do a proper drawing of that for our stuff. But anyway, well, this has been
You're listening to Leap Day News, bringing you useless stories every 4 years. Hey, at least this is better than the election.
And that takes care of our news segment. We don't really have any legal obligations anymore. We divorced ourselves of those. But it doesn't take care of saying thank you to our great supporters. People supported the show over the years. And normally we would pitch the Patreon, which we may be bringing back at the beginning of next year. But instead of pitching that, I'm going to pitch to you once again Movember. My friends and I are doing a version of Movember. So instead of raising money like through the Movember campaign, we're raising money directly, and we're donating it to Peter and Paul Community Services here in St. Louis. It's a group that does homeless services for specifically for adult men. We are just about $1,000 shy of our final goal with 11 days to go in the month. So if you want to swing over to Linktree, linktr.ee/Movember, Moghvember. It's also in the description of the episode. And throw me or one of my friends a few dollars. We're going to be donating at the beginning of December and tracking everything that everyone's given. And there will be proof. It's not a scam. Despite what others would have you believe.
I would have loved to send you something, but the CRA took the rest of my Canadian money out. So as soon as I get paid, I'm going to throw you hopefully if I get it before the end of the month, I will be able to catch Movember.
Yeah, right now we are sitting at $748.14 of our $1,800 goal. So
that's awesome. Good job.
Not too bad.
Mm-hmm.
Almost halfway. So
well, and your mustache is almost halfway. Your mustache is looking pretty darn good. Yeah, that's looking pretty darn good. Yeah, I'm a digging it.
I cannot express how much I hate like razor shaving. I didn't razor shave like the last 2 days, and I'm gonna have to razor shave tomorrow, and I'm just not looking forward to it.
Do you still have like a Harry's? Do you still have a Harry's blade from back in the day, or?
I never got a Harry's blade back in the day because when I went to go buy a Harry's blade, they had canceled the promo code because it was too popular. So I never got a Harry's blade back then. No, I went and bought. I was at Target and I bought a Dollar Shave Club blade and shaving cream.
So I don't use a razor. I just go to my barber guy and get him to do it all just with like a clipper. But I'm thinking about getting one, There was one that it's like $100, but you get like almost a lifetime supply of the blades, and it doesn't have the like lubrication strip or anything like that. Because again, going back to my plastics issue from a while back, anytime like there's something that's like, okay, you don't want to use like regular deodorants because those are basically carcinogens and just going to cause you all kinds of problems. And then I just found out about the stupid strips on
single blades,
any of them. any of them that have a lubrication strip on them is basically a microplastic carcinogen. I don't need them, but my wife uses them for shaving, and so might as well, invest in getting one of these like things that's not poison. We'll see how it goes, but yeah.
I thought about getting one of those classic safety razors, and I decided it was probably not worth $100 for 30 days of shaving.
Maybe, maybe not.
If I decide to stay clean shaven more often, I might swap up, but I think right now I'm just going to stick with this cheap stuff.
My problem was always being ingrown hairs, so I've just done this permanent 5 o'clock for I've been doing that since since my 20s. So yeah, it's been a while. So
there you go.
Yeah, man. You got an issue?
I do. Here's what I don't get.
Nope.
The liberal thought process. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, 2 weeks ago now, the election was won, decided victory. They've of course spent the last 2 weeks creating fake votes to make it look like Donald Trump lost the popular vote, and challenging the results of the election, which I was assured 4 years ago was a threat to our democracy. But it's
always been at war with East Asia, so
it's been fascinating to watch this meltdown happen in real time and watch like all of the. So we spent the last 4 years them churning up that Donald Trump was a threat to our democracy, and we live in a democracy, and democracy. And then I have literally seen liberals on Twitter posting that Joe Biden should unilaterally invalidate the results of the 2024 election because it didn't come out their way. And it's like, I don't understand. I really don't understand how they're so able to just turn on a dime and forget everything that they've said prior to this moment.
Cognitive dissonance.
Liberals live in an ever present time where they have never said anything before. They have never had a previous belief to what they're saying right now. And so, you have RFK coming in and talking about how we're going to get rid of seed oils and, we're going to eat healthier and all these additives in cereals are bad. And you've got the New York Times reporting about how Fruit Loops are basically the same thing in Canada and the United States, aside from these like 7 things that are added to Fruit Loops in the United States that aren't in
which
Canadian
are way
Fruit
worse.
Loops, which are like not good for you. And it's like,
Canadian
that's
Fruit
what he's
Loops are garbage.
Saying.
Canadian Fruit Loops are garbage too. I mean, like compared to Europe, I guess. Like Europe actually has proper. People come to the United States and they don't know why they gain weight, and it's like because your food is poison.
Yeah, because our food has a tremendous amount of sugar in it. There's sugar in all of our fucking food, and 10, 12 years ago under Obama, it was all about like, let's be healthy eating. We're going to, the raw diet and all this stuff. And now the audacity to be like, hey, what if we didn't put like all these additives that don't really do anything except make us fat? And it's like, well, we can't deal with that at all. You have women protesting abortion bans by saying that they're not going to have premarital sex. And it's like, yeah, that's kind of the idea.
Yeah.
I don't understand how, like, I have had opinions, and then over time my opinions have changed, and you can like through line look at the way I have talked about a subject and understood that over time my opinion has evolved and changed. But like opinions on things have changed in the last 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. In the last 2 weeks, we went from how we're a democracy and everyone has to have a voice and we got to vote to no, we need to be a unilateral dictatorship where the president has ultimate say, but we need to do that before the bad guy gets into being president and being
they
like
did this
words don't have any meaning anymore.
They did this in 2016 as well. I mean, Obama was mocking Trump, saying that like he's gonna challenge and say that there was election fraud, and I can assure you there's absolutely none. Our system is perfect. And then as soon as like Hillary lost, it was Russia, and Russia cheated, and he's not my president. And I'm not a fan of Donald Trump, but I don't like this kind of behavior from any side.
I don't
would be
either,
pissed
because
off if my side was doing it.
There's like they completely talk about fascism is a word that has lost all meaning in the last.
I don't even think it
10,
actually
12 years.
had meaning in the first place.
And to the point now where, like, the big promises right now that whether or not he follows through, which I doubt that he will, but the big promise is that we're going to like gut all the federal regulations. We're going to give the power back to the people. We're going to decentralize the government. We're going to make the federal government smaller and have less of an impact in your lives. And there are people saying that this is like the slow road into fascism. And it's like, no, this is the exact opposite of fascism. This is federalism, where the federal government doesn't really have a say in your day-to-day life. Like, yes, Roe versus Wade was overturned, and in an abstract sense, that is Trump's fault, because he nominated and had appointed several Supreme Court judges that were on the deciding factor of that panel.
The only good thing they did.
You know whose fault it really is that Roe versus Wade was overturned? Every fucking Democrat that's ever been in Congress for the last 50 years, because at any point when they had these supermajorities under Bill Clinton, under Barack Obama, under Jimmy Carter, you could have codified into federal law that abortion was legal, but you didn't. You stood on this court precedent. So when the court precedents got overturned, it got given back to the states. And you know what? I live in Missouri, a red state that voted for Donald Trump. You know what else they voted for? They voted to legalize abortion. So, that's a lot more of your democracy at work. The people that are close to you in your same state said, yeah, you know what? This is a thing that we as a collective Missourians think is an appropriate thing. That's more freedom, not less, because you don't have a unilateral panel of 9 people just saying like, yeah, this is legal. This is legal. So now they're tooting the horn about how, whatever the ruling was that legalized gay marriage could get overturned, which there are a ton of states in the United States that actually have constitutional bans on same-sex marriages. And so if that gets overturned, boom, suddenly I don't know if they get annulled, but you can't get them anymore. And people look at that and go, well, this is bad. And I was like, well, that's democracy, though. The individual states voted, the people in the state decided they didn't want this thing. That's democracy happening. And the fact that lots of states decided on this thing, that's democracy happening. You can't only support democracy when it's something that's on your side. You have to support that, yes, there are stupid people out there voting. That's why the voting system works. That's why they can go up and fucking spend $100,000 plus on a set for Call Her Daddy to talk to dumb, vapid cunts on the internet to try and convince them to vote for Kamala Harris. That everyone has the right to vote. And so this like total turnaround on not wanting that anymore, the turnaround on health foods. It's like, at this point, I think if Donald Trump appointed Mr. Rogers to be like the department Secretary of Education,
dig up all kinds of things.
They'd be like, Mr. Rogers is a rapist and we hate him. We just hate him. I don't want to be your neighbor, Mr. Rogers. It's like your brain is so scrambled. It's supposed to be, they claim to be this party of tolerance and love and like accepting people for who they are, except that there are dozens and dozens of them posting proudly on the internet that they have disowned their parents or their grandparents or their aunts or this old best friend and totally shunned them out. And then they say, but the Donald Trump supporters, they live in a cult. And it's like, no. When you isolate and push people out of your life, that's what cult members do. When you go join a cult and you're like, hey, my mom is really concerned about all these things we're doing. You know what the cult tells you to stop fucking talking to your mom so that they can maintain control over you. It's insane. It is an insane topsy-turvy world, and I don't understand how they like can get up and look in the mirror and feel like they have any kind of consistency and personality or
they don't care about consistency. They don't care about consistency because consistency, most of their arguments, most of their positions on things aren't vetted. They're not vetted by like proper like reason and logic.
Yeah.
Like okay. One of the best examples was prior to Joe Biden, quote unquote, winning the 2022 or 2020 election, Kamala Harris was like, I'm never going to take that vaccine if Trump was behind it. And there were
tons of liberals
instantly.
Yeah.
They're all over it. You've got, I remember the best one was the Colbert Show, Stephen Colbert, and Colbert, and he was talking about James Comey, and like the flip-flops that the liberals did on James Comey. He's a good guy, he's a bad guy, he's a good guy, he's a bad guy. And there was this one moment, you can look it up, where he's like talking about James Comey and he's bringing up something about that he had done, and the crowd cheers because they had just been told, like, for the last months prior, that James Comey was a good guy and was going to save the day. And then essentially he's like, hang on. And he like scolds them, and then they have to boo. And it was like real time. Like, it was in real time that this was happening. And it's like, you and I, when we talked this week, I was talking about, my analogy of like human behavior based on like hardware, firmware, and software. But in this regard, this is straight up different operating system. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's a completely different operating system. It doesn't even go on ones and zeros. What's that?
It's completely shameless. They have no shame because they can't like walk themselves back on any issue. They just ignore that I ever had an opinion. And I feel like it's really dangerous because like those are the kinds of people that can be turned if you
feel like it's dangerous.
The other part of it, right, is that so it's been so ramped up. Everything's been so ramped up for the last, since Mitt Romney was running, about how he was evil. And I've talked about that before. It was
Bush. It was Bush.
I want to see if you can like go through social media and the timeline and figure out like every single literally Hitler, because we went like George W. Bush was literally Hitler, and then John McCain was literally Hitler, and then he became a darling in 2016, and then Mitt Romney was going to be literally Hitler, and then it was Donald Trump, and then Joe Rogan was literally Hitler for a while, and now Elon Musk is literally Hitler, and Donald Trump is literally Hitler, and it's like you build up all of this like crazy rhetoric on just how evil your opponents are, as opposed to like really what it comes down to. The difference between liberals and conservatives is liberals want the world to be the way they think that it should be, and conservatives want the world to function the way that it is. Right. So like liberals want to fix everything, and conservatives just want to like be left alone. And if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And so like where you agree on the problem, where there are problems, that's where you can work on implementing a solution that the least amount of people hate. But we disagree fundamentally on some of the problems, and those you kind of just have to leave alone. But what's ended up happening is, so instead of thinking about it as far as like this person just approaches problems in a different way than I do, like they're still a human being, we've completely dehumanized. And I remember this like way back in 2014, when the whole online discourse was, well, when is it okay to punch a Nazi? And I remember having this conversation with people where I was like, this is a really dangerous conversation to have, because what you're doing is you're building consensus. Is it okay to punch a Nazi? Yes. And now we have this consensus in our culture of this is when violence is okay. When Nazi equal violence okay. And so then the next step is to turn everyone you disagree with into Nazis so that you can completely justify violence against them. And that was exactly what happened. And no one remembered the conversation that we had prior to that, where I was like, hey, you remember how I said this was not a good idea, how we ramped this up? And so we spent the last 12 years just building up these like everyone's this terrible, evil overlord that's going to come in and crush our rights and destroy us. And you can't even we can't even reflect. Conservatives can't reflect on the last 4 years of Joe Biden being president and being like, prices went high on some goods and the economy's not great. But what really changed? What would really change if Kamala got elected? And liberals can't look and be like, what happened from 2016 to 2020? Did we round up any gays? No. Did we ban abortion? Not technically, no. And so to go like, it's just a presidential election. We got to take a deep breath. Tomorrow is going to exist. Like I remember, I think I talked about this on the show, but the day after the 2016 election, this thing popped up in theater communities called the Ghostlight Project, where we were going to be a light in the darkness for underrepresented communities or something. And I was like, you're making it sound like fucking
Cringe.
Sauron is coming down from Mordor to usher in 100 years of darkness. Like, it's a guy that got elected president that you disagree with. It's not that big of a deal. And
I kind of wish sometimes. I kind of wish sometimes he was as bad as they say.
I wish we could. I wish we could vote for literally Hitler. They're like, all right, liberals are going to run someone that is going to take away all of your wealth and fucking redistribute it to minorities and women and prop them up and can totally condone crime. I am Joe Liberal. This is what the platform I'm running on. And conservative guys like, we're coming into your house. We're not fucking allowing divorces anymore. No more abortions, no premarital sex, or it's going to be the death penalty. And I'd be like, wow, now we really do. Now in this election, we're really making a choice. But you're going to get
people that we vote for. 6 weeks paid vacation. You're going to get tax rebates off of every kid you have, and
I'm not going to tax you on tips. We're going to eliminate the income tax. Dude, we're going to cancel daylight savings time. Like, yeah, I fucking bet.
What policies did she push?
What policies do any of them push? They just get up there and they talk about shit, serve some food at a fucking McDonald's, drive around in a dump truck, get shot at, and then go like, it's either me or that dumb bitch.
Well, and the other thing is like, it goes back to, they're all in line. You got to hand it to them. Cause like, you got to hand it to them. They're all in line. They got their slaves in on totally chained up. The left will not speak out against the left. They will just instantly change their entire behavior, their entire opinion, their entire
Bernie
worldview.
Sanders. That's a great. Bernie Sanders came out and was just like, yeah, we didn't run a good campaign on this. We need to run a campaign that's more appealing to voters. And then all of these people that have been lionizing Bernie Sanders came out and attacked him. Like, there's no self-reflection. There's no looking at it and going like, hey, maybe abortion isn't like this death cult we're running isn't the issue we should run on. Maybe we should run on things that people actually care about, like how much eggs cost.
That's what pushed. I used to be like center left, right? For a period of my life, I was definitely like, I would have considered myself to be on the center left. But like Obama got elected, and it's like wars didn't end. The anti-war left disappeared. None of the stuff that he said he was going to promise. You didn't hold him accountable for anything. He said he was going to have transparency with all of his laws and bills that you'd be able to look at online. Like he made a deal with Dennis Kucinich. He had all these things that came in, and then nobody held him accountable for anything because, like, how dare you punch left? And the right will get on your case if you punch right. But we do it. We do it. Like, people are like, okay, love him or hate him. I get it. He's a divisive figure. Nick Fuentes, big divisive figure. People either hate his guts, think he's a Fed, think he's a homo, all this kind of stuff. But they're holding him. They're fine. But the thing is that I won't knock him on his like holding Trump accountable for like having crap policy and like appointing crappily. Like, he's not wrong about that. Like, he's totally right about that. And like, you got Laura Loomer going there. How dare you criticize Trump and do this? You gotta. If you're not going to criticize your politicians at all, if you're not going to have any values, you're not going to have any kind of moral compass where you're going to go, no, that's not going to work for me, and I don't want to vote for that. I get the whole idea of like the voting for a lesser evil is not a vote for the lesser evil. It's a vote for the more good that will be preserved under the lesser evil. I get that. Am I happy that Trump beat Kamala? Yes. Fine. Better, I guess. Sure. World War III is right on deck. Like we're looking at it. It's right on. It was either going to come from Kamala in the Ukraine or it was going to come from Trump in Iran and Israel. It doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter. But at the same time, like you said, like, I can look back. I just said I used to be center left at one point in time. I moved to Vancouver and I was like, holy shit, you guys are fucking crazy. I can't follow this. I can't go along with this. How are you not changing your opinion? Why are you not? You guys, we dealt with 8 years of George Bush. We had a bunch of years of Stephen Harper. You guys held these people accountable. You were criticizing them, and you had some good arguments. You had some good arguments. The second your guy is in power and you just shut the fuck up, what are you doing? Like, where does your brain go? I don't understand it.
Well,
doesn't
there's
make any
also
sense.
there's a lot of stuff about that white men have. There's this. I saw a great listicle, I guess, but it was about how white men have overwhelmingly gone to the right, and they've all become evil fascist Nazis. And then you look at the stats, and it's like, no, the left has gone like way further left, where the right has kind of stayed where it always was, which has dragged the center into like what used to be extreme left-wing policy. And then they've set up all of these echo chambers. Social media has become a total echo chamber. When Twitter didn't work for them, now they're abandoning it to go to Blue Sky. And then they're over there just mass reporting one another. And it's like, you guys are going to peck each other to death without, being able to self-reflect and figure out why it didn't work.
It's what they do.
Yeah.
Like when the communists won, when the Bolsheviks took over in Russia, like the first people on the wall were the leftists that helped them get there in the first place. It's the way they have to do that. They have to do that because those are the kinds of people who are unstable who might turn on you later. So they have to get rid of them right away. That's how their politics work. And so, you get these little breadcrumbs from the left. You get these little tiny breadcrumbs from the left. Like occasionally, for example, Jon Stewart will criticize their message that it wasn't going to work and maybe we should change something. But he'll be right back again, like hating on Whitey and doing his Jon Stewart things. And it won't take long. Bill Maher occasionally will call out bad policy.
Bill Maher this week got shit on because he was like, McDonald's is good. and his panel exploded at him.
Right, because they have to. It's triggering for them.
And it's just like, but you've eaten McDonald's. Like, is McDonald's the top of anyone's list for a meal? No.
Only their French fries.
If you're cruising down the highway or to go, you're on the way to something, you need to stop and grab lunch.
There's that in Burger King. You're like, I gotta go to McDonald's.
I'm going to McDonald's. Yeah. And like, you can't even see they won't cede even 1 inch to say, as far as fast food goes, McDonald's is the best one.
But it's that 1984 thing of we've always been at war with East Asia.
Yeah.
Right. And it's true. They don't have that
ever present now.
Well, going back to the jab thing, dude, like granola moms were vaccinated, like pregnant granola moms were getting vaccinated and vaccinating their babies. And it's like, you like a year ago were against big pharma. And now all of a sudden, what are you doing this to own the chuds?
That's another one that I love is the left now suddenly defending these pharmaceutical companies. It's like they have the opioid crisis was completely unleashed by these evil corporations, and you railed against them for years, and suddenly they release a vaccine and they're now like these fucking heroes of the planet.
I got a reason for that though. Atheism and a fear of dying and a fear of dying. Okay. The people who immediately were constantly tarped up in masks and like washing their mail and doing all kinds of ridiculous things. Why were they doing it? Because they're terrified of dying. They're just terrified of death. If you're not afraid of death, then they don't have as much control over you. But if you are afraid of death, they can make you do whatever they want you to do, because please don't let me die, because I'm not ready to die yet, because I haven't finished my Netflix shows, and I'm waiting for GTA 6 to come out. Like it's these lame things that like there's no concept of what is the meaning of life for a lot of these people. And the other thing is, going back to it, all these like tyrannical assertions that they believe that Trump is going to do, it's all projection. Because you guys immediately, you use lawfare on the other side. You use the IRS against people. You use the FBI against people. Up in Canada, they shut down bank accounts. They made people lose their jobs. They threatened you on every account. And the second that you lose for a second, the reason why you're terrified is because if you won, you would have fucked them over even more. You would have done even worse, and you know it. And that's all the projection is because you're afraid of what the other side would do if they thought like you do. That's what it comes down to. If they acted as immorally, as unbalanced, as hypocritical as you do, you are afraid of that. And that's why you're fucking pissing your pants, is because you're afraid of somebody else using that power the way you wanted to. That's what it comes down to.
The divide in American politics, like left versus right in Europe and other places, has always been like authoritarian versus anarchy. And American politics were always more kind of in the middle, with it being, you know, social welfare versus financial welfare kind of thing. And we've really like twisted the scale into becoming more and more of an authoritarian versus freedom parties. And
neither side is going to make it freedom. That's the sad part. The sad part is nobody's going to make it financially like sustainable. Trump ran up the debt, ran up the deficit like more than Obama did. You know, like the
stimulus.
He come on.
At the end of the day, none of these are going to change. And what it comes down to that I don't understand is the inability to remember more than 48 hours prior, the inability to self-reflect, and the inability to just let things play out before you throw your temper tantrum about it. Like, not you can't let every arrow fell you. You can't like take this as a tremendous loss. Like, you lose elections sometimes. I have never voted for a winning presidential candidate. I didn't vote in this election, but in all the prior elections that I was eligible to vote for, never voted for the winning candidate.
Really? Who'd you vote for in 2016?
Gary Johnson.
All right.
So all right. It's like you know,
I wouldn't have voted for him.
You win some, you lose some, whatever.
Yeah.
Let it go.
Well,
and don't tie your identity to something over which you have no control. I think that's the other part of it, is that liberals largely tie their identity to their politics, and like my identity is not based. I do have political opinions. I don't really talk about them in my regular life because, frankly, the fucking conversation's boring. My identity is based on the things that I do, the things that I accomplish. And when you have a terminally online syndrome and you're not able to like remember and focus on fact, you can't have a personality that's not my body, my choice kind of stuff, and preaching slogans. And I don't understand how people live that way. I don't understand how that person functions and how we're both humans. I'm really starting to feel like maybe you're not.
It's all pro wrestling. It's all pro wrestling. It's all sleight of hand. Going back to it, it's like, okay, Trump won. Great, fine. Let's go on. Let's move on. We'll get that set up. Now, if the left could criticize him about, I don't know, real stuff, maybe we get somewhere. Maybe if the right would also hold him accountable. Again, he's probably gay. Go for it. Whatever. Nick Fuentes, maybe he's a Fed. Don't care. If he's holding him accountable, it's like, okay, why don't we talk about some real issues? Like maybe World War III is right on the doorstep, and let's try not to provoke it. So how about we don't send billions of dollars to Israel that is used on weapons to antagonize and in some ways possibly genocide a people? Why don't we talk about that? Okay, well, the left is talking about that, but they're not allowed to talk about that. They get thrown off of Ivy League schools, campuses, and all this kind of stuff. It all comes down to fake boogeymen. It comes down to fake boogeymen. If you guys would actually use your academic training to analyze policy, to look at what is being done or done right or done wrong on the right and on the left, hold your elected officials accountable, we might get somewhere, but we're not. We're stuck in bullshit. We're just always, and like, go back to these debates. Do you remember a single policy that was discussed in any of them of substance? Nothing.
I didn't watch any of them.
None of them. They're garbage. They're a complete waste of time. They're just as fake as Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. They're just fake. Everybody is on the take. It doesn't really matter. They've probably selected these people ahead of time. Like, I mean, Trump won, and like, yeah, they're fighting about this. Nothing's going to happen. They let him win. There were like 20 million votes difference from the last time around. And you're not supposed to ask where that went, or, oh, no, it was just because people were bored and locked in their homes and they felt like voting this time. Not buying it. Not buying it. Okay. If any politician has gotten into a position where you've heard their name before, they've been vetted, they've got blackmail on them, and they're controlled. And they owe somebody a favor, whether it is like, if you look at Kamala, whether she owes like $1 billion to Soros for what he's plugged in, or if you look at Trump and whether he owes what does he owe Miriam Adelson, who gave him $100 million, right? Like, at the end of the day, they only go through this whole thing. They don't give you anything of substance because they just want you to pretend like you have a say in the whole process, and you don't. You don't. It's been predicted. It's been selected before you even got a chance to get in there. It doesn't matter. Justin Trudeau is probably going to get tossed out in Canada. Pierre Poilievre is going to be the next one to come in, who was on the World Economic Forum website. His wife has been in with the World Economic Forum. And then they're going to scrub that website and pretend that he wasn't there. And like, it doesn't matter. They're still going to government is going to get bigger. They're going to bring in more people. They're going to do all those kind of things. It doesn't matter. And so at the end of the day, you can try to hold them accountable. I think at the end of the day, I would love it if the left would just call out bullshit when they see it. And I mean real bullshit. Just like I want the right to do it. Because it drives me nuts when it's like, yeah, but like, at least he's not Kamala. I'm like, yeah, I knew that the second I saw him. He's not Kamala. I get that. Then what? I hate voting against something. I like voting for something, but there hasn't been something worth voting for pretty much in my adult life. So I'm not voting for anything of substance. It's bullshit. So yeah. Oh, cool. Good issue.
Well, that's all I had on that. So
good issue.
This has been Here's What I Don't Get. I'm Tab Burt.
I'm El Chaco.
We'll catch you guys next time.
Ciao, ciao.
If you want to call in the Here's What I Get hotline, call us at 704-750-9434 and tell us what you don't get. Or you can visit us on Discord and send us a voicemail as a wave under voicemail upload. Let me see if there's anything in the voicemail hotline. Nothing in the voicemail hotline, but I do have one here from Discord. Let me... There it is. All right, here we go.
Here's a random don't get that I'll throw in. Brushing your teeth. Now, don't get me wrong. Yes, it is important to brush your teeth every day, but the issue stems from when to brush your teeth and when it is time to eat. We were told growing up that you must do this twice a day, in the morning and at night. The thing is, every time you do this, you're basically telling your teeth that you will not be eating any food or drinking any sugary stuff for at least 4 hours. You're welcome to argue when it's time to eat after you brush, but to me, it's best to keep that lasting refreshment in your mouth for quite some time. It's like taking your car to a car wash and you just refuse to drive on some dirt roads until the clean effect wears off. I suppose people living on dirt roads could be another issue for the next time, but that's the way it is. Oh, that stupid lonely pizza guy. I bet his teeth is probably fogged up by now.
I was always taught you're supposed to brush your teeth after you've eaten, not before. Right? Am I wrong? Are you muted? You're muted. You're going to have to unmute yourself.
Yeah, sorry. After you've eaten and then before bed. Those are the 2 times.
Yeah. Yeah, I used to always brush my teeth first thing in the morning because you get that morning mouth. But I saw a thing, some lady, some the like Twitter science,
Mhm.
where it's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna believe this one. And she was giving a speech. I think she was like a New Zealander or something, and she was saying about how your body actually can produce, like, I don't know, certain vitamins or something like that, uh, over the course. So when you're brushing your teeth, you're losing those abilities if you're washing your mouth out, you're losing your abilities to consume those vitamins that your body has already created or whatever in that portion. So I've started to hold off on brushing my teeth until after breakfast, and
Yeah.
on with the show after that. So yeah,
Yeah, I usually do it right before I leave the house. So I'll get up in the morning and I'll do like a protein shake and a banana usually, and then brush my teeth right before I leave the house.
yeah,
Uh,
that's a good way to go.
because I also I don't like the taste of toothpaste in my mouth when then I'm trying to eat real food.
We switched toothpastes to this kind that doesn't have fluoride and doesn't have a bunch of the additive stuff. It's I forget the name of it. It's like a hydro something or other or whatever, but it doesn't have any taste. It just cleans your teeth.
Yeah.
And it does make a difference.
My sister
But
was using like a stick and some charcoal for a while because that was better for the environment or some crazy shit. And I was just like, I'm gonna stick with my plastic toothbrush and Crest or Colgate or whatever fucking toothpaste. I just buy whatever the cheapest toothpaste is when I run out of toothpaste. I'm not like a toothpaste loyalist.
no, we started getting ours online because I don't know, man. I'm not a big fan of fluoride, so I tried to get off. Have you been seeing this though? Going back to your issue, like where like liberals are like actually asking how I can add fluoride to my water. It's like,
Fluoridate their own water. Yeah, it's
all
insane.
right, yeah, crust up that pineal gland as much as you can, guys. I get it.
These are people that I guarantee you have a Brita filter or like a filter in their fridge, or they're just drinking.
They don't have a
bottled water
Berkey
all the
water
time.
filter though.
And then it's like, we're gonna take fluoride out of the water. Like, well, we gotta put it back in. Like, you are losing your mind.
They are
like,
they're not losing their minds. They already lost them. They already lost their
Yeah.
minds. It's over.
Just contradicting yourself, and
Going back to
this meltdown is way better than 2016 because 2016 was just like 2016 was also unprecedented. It was
yeah.
Donald Trump, literally Hitler. He's going to do all this literally Hitler stuff. But now it's like we've gone through 4 years of literally Hitler.
Mm.
What do you think is going to happen with the next 4 years? Like
Nothing.
The same stupid shit.
Israel will get more money, and Iran will get probably nuked at some point in time. I was going to point out about the dirt roads comment in there because I live on off dirt roads, and we just kind of stopped giving a crap about like washing the van because as soon as you wash it, it'll just get dirty again because like the dampness and the dust will just hit it again. And I have this this cope theory where if I don't wash it and I go into the city, then it'll make it less likely to get broken into or invaded in any way or stolen, because it'll be those people are poor. They can't even afford to wash their car,
wash their van. Yeah.
Oh, dude, this is the one thing that saddened me when I was here in Paraguay the very first time. Almost every single parkade or parking lot had just like, or just on the street, if you're by a restaurant or something, there'd be somebody who would, do the inevitable, like, I'll watch your car for you. Just, you can pay me when you come out. And if you paid them extra, they'd wash your car for you. So I used to have the cleanest vehicles at all time because it was like $3 to get somebody to like wash my car when I come back. And it was like awesome. But then somewhere along the line, because of COVID, they like made that illegal or something. And so there's no more, libertarian car washers all over the place anymore. And Paraguay is lesser because of it. So
I would like to point out that this hat has been in my basement since basically I moved here, and it was
Does it have a
covered
snake?
in dirt and cobwebs.
Yeah, I was gonna ask.
and
Yeah,
I just put it on my head for the bit.
that's the whole reason I'm
And
not putting on the cowboy hat up in the corner there is because I can't trust what's underneath it.
yeah, this hat is gross, but I did it for the bit.
Well,
So.
look at us keeping this under 2 hours for the first time in months.
Nailed it.
Nailed it. Well, thanks again for making the time, man, and getting on here early with me and my crazy. Like it's like 10 to 11 where I'm at right now, so it's it's gonna be tough for. Oh, there's a new voicemail in the server, so let's check that out.
In the server?
In Discord, I would assume.
Discord. Oh, okay. Yeah, hold on. Let me screen present.
I hope it's not the pizza guy.
All right, here we go.
I'm worried about him.
Gentlemen, it's Jay. Joel, I'm catching up on episodes, but I agree with you on rock and roll not being as mainstream as it used to be. I was going to say, well, wait, there's still Clutch. Oh, wait, they're old. There's still Foo Fighters. Oh, wait, they're old, and Dave Grohl has lost his mind. It's not that it's dead. It's just that most new acts seem to be staying underground. I can name plenty of good bands on Bandcamp, but even those that have been around for over a decade, like Skeletor, which is more new wave of heavy metal, but the point still stands. They'll tour, they'll put out albums, they'll make merch, but they'll never really break into the popular consciousness. I'm happy to send you some recommendations, but it's pretty sad. Even bands that are supposed to be the next big thing, like Fun, which people are like, oh, this is the next Queen, just disappeared one day. Anyway, here's what I don't get. The pervasive flakiness in our culture. I'm pretty sure Tabs touched on this at some point, but I just had it happen to me. I'm in a movie group, and we end up going to the same theater a few times a month, and we just moved from Meetup to Discord because Meetup hiked their fees again. People will RSVP for an event, and we get 12 I'm interesteds, which to me means 12 people are going, not 4. If you say you want to go and you can't go, change your RSVP, message someone, or both. I mean, it's okay. Stuff happens. Your car breaks down, you're ill, or let's be real, you just don't feel like dealing with people after a long week. I've been there. I get it. But just be upfront. Nobody is going to take it as a slight unless you intend it as a slight. I don't understand this, and it drives me absolutely insane. Another member said, well, there should be a third category in Discord that says, I'm going, along with interested, not interested. And my response was, yeah, but then people are just going to abuse that. Adding the category doesn't fix the underlying problem, and I don't know what does. I hate this maybe stuff. I get keeping your options open. I get the push-pull between what if somebody there sucks versus the FOMO gremlins in your head telling you you got to be out somewhere all the time. I understand it. I've been there, but you just have to be honest. Reliability and forthrightness are so fucking underrated, and it sickens me to my core. That was it. Stay furious.
Great issue. Great
Yeah,
issue.
absolutely.
I used to bring up Facebook maybe culture as like back when Facebook was, the prime time. And it used to drive me crazy. Yeah, you'd throw like a party or a function and you get you don't know how much booze to order, you don't know how much food to get, you don't know how much all those kind of things. Like down here in Paraguay, it's even worse than that because people will straight up say to you, I'm coming. And not even only that. Come. No, not even only that. Like, you'll be like, you'll hit them up with a text. They're like, hey, are you on your way? And they'll be like, yeah, I'm like 5 minutes away, and then not come. And then it's rude for you to ask them about it later. Like it's like a social faux pas. It's this low context, high context thing. It drives me crazy. Because if you're doing an asado, which is like a Paraguayan grill, you want to have enough food for everybody. And the other thing is like, let's say you set it for, I don't know, 7 p.m. or something like that. People will roll in at like 11:30 or like, like really late, like after the food is cold, and then like actually demand food. Like they've shown up like super late, but this whole thing of like, yeah, I'm coming, and then they don't, and you don't know. Like you can't plan anything. One of my biggest things that drives me crazy is uncertainty. I hate uncertainty. And this is what this caller is saying is like this whole concept of like, how do you plan for that? How do you plan for a variation of 8 people? You know what I mean? Like that's a big deal. And like we used to have that with wrestling, when we put up a thing for our wrestling shows, and it's like, oh, it looks like we're going to have like 150 people there. Good. Okay, great. Well, that'll be good. That'll be good on TV. And then all of a sudden you're like, there's like 70 people here. We need to like get them to spread out a bit and like, kind of make it look like it's full when it's not, and all this kind of stuff. Like, it's not easy. And yeah, flakiness, I think it's just like a big deal with like people not being responsible, just being cool with that. And like, I just think it's just people being shitty to one another and self-weeding.
Oh, and in this day and age, following through is a superpower. Like if you have the ability to say, I'm going to do a thing, and then you do it, like you are in the top 5% of human beings.
Is it an IQ thing? Is it a social IQ thing? Like, what is it? Like, I don't understand how people can't do it. I don't even know how like being late is a thing. Like, I get it occasionally. Like if you got, I don't know, a speeding ticket on the way, or if there was a car accident, or if there was like a crazy amount of traffic that doubled your travel time. But I'm always early for things, so I
have to
in that
consciously plan to not be perfectly like what I get. You get invited to a party or something, right? And it's like, we're getting together between 7 and 7:30, and like I don't want to be the guy that shows up at 6:55, and it's like, hey, what's up? So I will. Right. I mean, I will get to the place at 6:55, and then I'll just sit in the car and I'll like have a time. I'll be reading. I'll have a timer go off on my phone, like 7:05. I'm wandering now, and now it's like, I got here at 7:07 instead of I was actually here 12 minutes ago. I had a friend who had a gig over at the City Foundry I guess it was last month. And something ended up happening where I wasn't going to be able to go to the whole gig. I had to leave after their first set to go do a demo. So I show up and I'm like, hey, I said that I would come and now I'm here. And she turns to one of the other people in the band and goes, I told you Tab was coming. I'm like, oh, well, I didn't expect it. And I'm like, well, I literally texted you and said, I will be at your next gig at the City Foundry. I'll see you there. Like, what part of that was vague as far as whether or not I was going to be there?
It's this rapid decline of the value of reliability. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, if I tell you I'm going to do something and I don't, I want my reputation with you to be so strong that I have delivered on every other time, that if I am not there, you're worried that something very bad has happened to me. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm of the mindset that if I know I'm going to be 15 minutes late because I am stuck in traffic, I'm going to send you a text. I'm going to let you know. Right. But there's these people out there that are just like, they just like show up all disheveled and they're like 40 minutes late. Oh, sorry, you couldn't shoot a text. You couldn't shoot anything to give us a heads up or anything. We're waiting on you. It's just, it's narcissism. It's a form of narcissism because it's these people who believe that they're the main character all the time. And if I don't go to the party, then the party didn't happen. Or it's not going to be a big deal or whatever. But it's like, we need to be better to one another. We absolutely need to be better to one another and be reliable. You and I got here early. The show started on time, right?
Yeah.
Show started right on time. We generally will start the show on time. We're very seldom more than 3 minutes late on getting anything started. And it's because we prepare. And because you set the time, and you set a
like
commitment.
Today, we were on, 20, 30 minutes early, and I was sitting here reprogramming the soundboard to do a couple of things. I was like getting all that done.
Yeah.
So that when 6 o'clock hit, we were live. We gave it a 5 minutes, 10 minutes of buffer time to say, let people, join the stream, get that notification to pop up. Let me go ahead and watch, and then we launch into the show. Like that's
was
part
always
of
the
this
hard part
trying to
about
be
having
consistent release.
that was always the hard part about having a guest. Is when
Mhm.
we would have a guest on and you advertise the guest, and then it's like, are they going to show up? Like you get a little nervous. Like they show up like
Mhm.
30 seconds before, or they're showing up a little late and no apology. Or like I brought up about that doctor on a previous issue about the doctor that was like stupid late, like
Mhm.
close to an hour late. And like we just live in a society that doesn't value your word anymore. And I'll give the boomers something. The boomers definitely were instilled about like you got to be a man of your word. You got to be your reputation is everything. Your reputation means like people need to trust you, right? But that's disappeared. We don't do that anymore. We make excuses for people all the time. Oh, they couldn't do it because they're poor. Oh, they couldn't do it because they're discriminated against. Oh, they couldn't follow the rules because of this or that. No, we got to hold accountable people for their actions. You just and the other thing is like, there's no harm in admitting I screwed up and just learn from it and do a better job the next time. But when you're trying to gather a group together, that's why I always really liked having like an actual close knit group of friends, ones that
Mhm.
you truly can rely on. That's why making new friends is tough
Difficult. Yeah.
because you also it's like if you're the one that is on time or you're the one that is reliable, our society now is like flip that to make it look like you're like it's an ick, like you're needy or like you don't have anything better to do. It's almost like you must not show up to these things to show that you're cool. It's just, I hate it. I'm so glad I'm out of it. I'm so glad I
Yeah.
don't have to deal with that at all. And I don't get invited to anything here in Paraguay anymore because all their dinners start at 11 and my kids are in bed by 9. So sorry, can't make it. So yeah,
Well, that's all we got.
good stuff.
So until next time, we'll probably be back next week.
Yeah, there's a chance. Good chance.
Straight up next week. So
We got some backlogged
stay tuned.
issues to do over the next little while. We've been banking them, so we're good to go.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But yeah, thanks for listening. Thanks for joining us live. Thanks for supporting the show, and thanks to everybody who donates at Linktree/Mogovember. It's going to a good men's charity here in St. Louis. So
Good
till
stuff.
next time,
Chip in.
I've been Ted Burt.
And I'm El Chaco. Good night.
Catch you next week.
Have a good one.